Unbelievable act, single dad defends CEO from 3 harassers. Her first words will shock you. Jake wiped the grease from his hands, the vibrant smell of motor oil and gasoline swirling in the warm spring evening. But he wasn't finished for the day. He had a mission. His daughter, Lily, was waiting. He pulled his hat low as he made his way through town, the annual spring festival pulsing with life. Music floated through the air, laughter rang out, and the smell of kettle corn wafted by. This was a celebration of community, and he wanted Lily to experience it fully, but as he approached the community center, a crowd gathered. He could feel tension in the air, like static before a storm. Majestic Ivy, the prodigy of their hometown, had returned. A successful tech CEO, she stood tall, radiating confidence. But then, 3 businessmen sneered, their words like daggers. "What have you really accomplished, Ivy?" One of them laughed, his companions joining in. The air buzzed with disbelief. Jake felt a tightness in his chest. This wasn't just unfair, it was wrong. Lily's face flashed in his mind, her own budding dreams and the struggles he faced to lift her up, sacrifices he made for her future, everything his father had taught him about standing up for what was right rushing back. He took a breath, his heart pounding more fiercely with every pulse. Stepping forward, Jake's voice was steady, though his knees felt wobbly. "Hey! Why don't you show some respect?" The crowd fell silent as they turned their heads, eyes wide with shock. The disbelief etched on Ivy's face mirrored his own. "What is it to you?" One of the businessmen scoffed, but Jake didn't waver. "This woman's worked hard. You don't get to tear her down." He could feel sweat trickling down the back of his neck, but he pushed on. Ivy's stunned expression shifted to pride as she spoke, her voice slicing through the tension. "You want to talk about achievements? I'm standing here, not to impress you but to inspire the next generation. Respect should be earned, not given based on appearances." What a powerful surge of defiance. The crowd erupted, applause breaking the silence like a glass shattering. Conversation buzzed around them, igniting a flicker of hope, a discussion about equality, and the true meaning of success. In that moment, Jake felt like a hero, but soon he saw Lily. She stood off to the side, her fists clenched, her eyes glistening with tears. "Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen." Now let's continue. As the chaos around them settled, Ivy came over to Jake, her smile bright and encouraging. "You did great. Standing up is hard," she said, recognizing the fight that lay ahead. But Jake's heart sank. He saw the weight of expectation on Lily that he never intended to place on her. His heroism felt distorted, a burden rather than a blessing. Just as Ivy's understanding began to deepen their connection, Lily turned away, storming out of sight. Jake's chest twisted painfully. Would he lose his daughter just as he felt they were gaining a voice? How could he show her that it was okay to feel and to reach for more? Would they rise together or crumble under the weight of their unconventional journey? As the festival lights twinkled like stars overhead, uncertainty loomed. One fight had begun, but another was brewing within their fragile father-daughter bond. Jake's heart raced as he pushed through the crowd, his eyes scanning for Lily. He could still hear the echoes of Ivy's empowering words, but all he felt was a growing unease. He had wanted to show her the importance of standing up, to teach her about courage in the face of adversity. Instead, it felt like he had only deepened the crack between them. The laughter and music of the festival faded into a dull hum as he searched. Jake's thoughts spiraled. What had he done wrong? Was defending Ivy so impactful that it overwhelmed Lily? He could see her silhouette move past the booths, away from the celebration that seemed to carry on without a care. "Lily!" He called out, desperation creeping into his voice. She didn't turn around but picked up her pace, her long hair swinging like a pendulum. This was how the night was supposed to go. Jake had pictured laughter, games, and maybe even a moment where he could teach her something valuable. Instead, they were drifting apart, and it made his chest feel heavy. Finally, he spotted her, sitting on a bench just outside the community center, clutching her phone with white knuckles. As he approached, he could see streaks of tears on her cheeks, glistening in the festival lights. What struck him most was the defeat in her stance. She looked so small, vulnerable, and angry. "Lily, what's wrong?" he asked gently, not wanting to overwhelm her. He sat beside her, the wooden bench creaking under the weight of their unspoken tension. "Why did you do that, Dad?" she snapped, her voice shaky. "You made a scene. What were you thinking?" His heart sank. This wasn't about Ivy or the businessmen, this was about how she felt right now. "I was trying to help. I thought it was the right thing to do. It was embarrassing. Everyone was looking at me." Lily shot back, her eyes fierce. "I just wanted to have fun, not live through some big showdown." Jake sighed, rubbing the back of his neck, feeling the ache of miscommunication. "I get it. But sometimes, standing up is more important than having fun. I wanted to show you that it's okay to fight against what's wrong." "Maybe I don't want to fight," she retorted, pushing her hair back defiantly. "Maybe I just want to be myself and not feel like I have to choose a side all the time." Her words hit him hard. She was right. He had placed expectations on her without even realizing. They had been through so much together, working hard and struggling, but perhaps she was simply tired. "Lily, I'm so sorry. I never meant to put that weight on you," he said softly, sorrow lacing his voice. She turned to look at him, her eyes a mix of anger and sadness. I just want to be proud of who I am without feeling like I have to impress anyone." The sincerity in her voice shook him. This fight for a voice shouldn't have overshadowed their bond. He needed to listen, just listen and understand. "Okay," Jake said, this time with conviction. "Let us figure that out together. You don't have to do anything to make me proud. I want you to just be you." Her shoulders relaxed a little, and the fire that had consumed her expression began to cool. "You promise?" "I promise," he replied, extending his pinky, his heart aching but lighter. As they locked fingers, a quiet understanding settled between them. Just then, they heard a distant firework pop, exploding in colors across the darkening sky. "Look! Fireworks!" Lily exclaimed, her frustration momentarily forgotten as she pointed excitedly. Jake watched her brighten, grateful for the shift. But in the back of his mind, the reality still hung heavy. They had work to do on their relationship, more than just surface-level smiles. "What's our next step?" he asked, half joking, but Lily turned to him, the mischief returning to her eyes. "How about a dance-off instead of a showdown?" As laughter bubbled up between them, Jake knew this was just the beginning. But what other challenges lay ahead that could affect their fragile bond? The festival buzzed with life, yet they felt like they were on the edge of something big. What battles would they face next, and would they still stand together? Lily's laughter rang out like music, breaking the tension that had stretched between them just moments before. Jake couldn't help but smile, his worries momentarily swept away. The festival was alive with vibrant colors and lively sounds, but right now, it felt like the two of them were in their own little bubble. "All right, dance off it is," he said, trying to match her enthusiasm. The idea of stepping into the center of the festival's South Main Square made his stomach flip, but he pushed the fear aside. This was about connection, about showing Lily he could let loose. As they walked toward the center, Jake watched the people around them. Couples swayed to the distant music, kids ran with cotton candy fingers, and friends laughed over the latest games they had conquered. The air was thick with sweet smells and the excitement of the festival, but his gaze kept drifting to Lily. She seemed to radiate energy, her eyes sparkling like the fireworks that had just lit up the night. It was moments like these when he could see glimpses of the young woman she was becoming, confident and brave, yet still so tender. Once they reached the open space, Jake glanced around. A small crowd began to gather, curious faces watching them. He could feel the burn of embarrassment creeping up, but he swallowed it down. "Okay," Jake declared, striking a playful pose, "let me show you some dad moves." With that, he shuffled his feet awkwardly, arms flailing as he tried to make Lily giggle. It worked. She burst into laughter, her eyes dancing with mischief as she jumped in, mirroring his ridiculousness and taking it up a notch. It was pure joy as they went back and forth, each trying to outdo the other. As they danced, their laughter echoed through the night air. For the first time in a while, Jake felt a sense of freedom. The weight of expectations lifted, replaced by a cherished moment with his daughter. But then he noticed something, a flicker of uncertainty in her eyes. Was she truly enjoying herself, or was there still a doubt lurking beneath the surface? "Lily!" He shouted over the music, catching her attention. "This is amazing, right?" "It is." She shouted back, her voice bright. But that flash of doubt returned. "But, do you think I'm silly?" "Not at all." He reassured her, stepping closer. "You're fearless. Look at how you're dancing. You're letting go and just being you." A frown crossed her face momentarily. "Sometimes, I just wish I could dance without anyone watching." Her words hit him like a punch. Jake could relate. There were times he felt the same way about standing up for what he believed in. He wanted her to embrace who she was, free from judgment, just as he wanted for himself. "I get it," he said gently. "But just remember, dancing is all about fun. And if anyone judges, they're missing out." Suddenly, a loud cheer erupted from the crowd as a couple joined in. The spotlight shifted, and it became a small dance party, everyone laughing and moving. Jake could feel Lily's rhythm growing more comfortable alongside the joyous energy surrounding them. As the night continued, their dance became even more animated, their bodies moving freely without a care. But amidst the fun, Jake felt a looming question. Had he truly shown her the right way to express herself? Or would she still grapple with expectations he didn't even know he was placing on her? In that moment, fireworks rang again in the sky, shooting multicolored sparks above them. Jake watched Lily's face illuminate with wonder. She was smiling, but the nagging worry held strong. What did it mean to be free enough to dance, yet still carry the weight of others' opinions? And how could he help her navigate this challenge? Just then, the music shifted. A slower song began to play, and he turned to Lily. "How about a slow dance?" he asked, his heart thumping as he held out his hand. As she took it, the air tightened around them. Deep inside, he sensed this moment was pivotal. Could they float through this together without the anxieties of life pulling them under? Would that lead to the trust they desperately needed? As they swayed gently to the music, the world around them faded, but the question lingered like an echo. What would the next chapter hold for them? Jake held Lily close, feeling the warmth of her small frame against his. He could hear her breath, soft and steady, and for a fleeting moment, it felt like the chaos of the festival melted into the background. The slower music wrapped around them, creating a soothing atmosphere. He looked into her eyes, searching for reassurance, but what he found was an earnest longing, as if she were asking for something he wasn't sure he could give. "I wish we could stay like this forever," she whispered, her voice almost lost in the music. "We can," he replied, though he wasn't so sure. Could he promise her forever? The notion seemed both beautiful and daunting. Lily's gaze drifted to the ground. But what if we look silly again? In that moment, the festival felt like a distant memory. The crowd faded, leaving just the two of them in a bubble of uncertainty. He knew then that this wasn't just about dancing. It was about trust and the authenticity of who they were becoming. "Lily," he said softly, tilting her chin up so their eyes met again. "Looking silly just means you're being yourself. The people who matter will see that. With a small nod, she smiled shyly. Suddenly, his heart sank as doubt crept back in. Was he truly giving her the right tools to navigate the world? Could he really guide her through the minefield of adolescence when he often felt lost himself? Just then, an unexpected jolt of laughter erupted nearby. Two teenagers had entered the dance circle, clearly determined to steal the show. As they began a wildly energetic routine, the crowd erupted again, laughter and cheers filling the air. Jake felt Lily's body tense beside him. "Do you want to join them?" Jake asked, sensing the shift. Her hesitation was palpable. "What if I trip? What if I mess up?" "Then you trip and mess up." Jake grinned. "And trust me, I've done my fair share of both. It's part of the fun." With a momentary flicker of uncertainty and wonder, she finally looked toward the crowd and back at him, weighing his encouragement. The laughter of the onlookers faded into the background, eclipsed by the exhilarating surge of possibility. Before he could think twice, Lily took a deep breath and pulled away from him. "I'm going to try," she declared, her eyes sparkling anew with confidence. "Heck yes!" Jake cheered, his voice booming over the festival noise. Watching her sprint toward the center felt both heartwarming and terrifying. She was stepping into the spotlight, a place that had once felt too overwhelming. As she joined the teenagers, her rhythm melded perfectly with theirs, a natural synchronization. He almost couldn't believe how effortlessly she entered their world. The crowd erupted in applause, clearly impressed. Jake's heart swelled with pride, but there was still the lingering doubt: had he done enough to prepare her for judgment, for reality? Would she know how to carry herself when the applause faded? Lily turned to catch his eye, a beaming smile stretched across her face. It lit him up inside. Maybe she was starting to realize that it wasn't about perfection, but about the moments woven into the dance of life. As the music shifted yet again, the atmosphere pulsed with energy. He couldn't help but feel that something had changed, deep within both of them. For the first time in a while, the anxiety loosened its grip. But just as he began to feel a sense of peace, a figure caught his eye, one that felt out of place among the jubilation. A tall man stood at the edge of the festival grounds, arms crossed, watching them intently. His expression was hard, and Jake's stomach twisted nervously. What was that man's intention? Without thinking, Jake stepped forward, instinctively putting himself between Lily and the stranger. No matter what happened next, he would protect her. "Hey! Everything okay?" Jake called out, his heart racing. The man's gaze shifted to Jake, his lips twisting into a smirk. "Just observing this dance." Jake felt the weight of his attention, heavy and unnerving. What was this stranger really after? And how could Jake keep Lily safe in a world filled with so many unpredictable elements? Jake stood rooted to the spot, his heart hammering in his chest. The man's smirk revealed nothing, but the intensity in his eyes sent a chill down Jake's spine. The festival joy felt miles away now, like a forgotten dream. He glanced back at Lily, whose laughter had turned to nervous glances, the buoyancy of the moment dissipating. "Hey!" Jake called out again, forcing a brave smile as he tried to mask his concern. "No kidding around, all right? What do you want?" The stranger pushed off the edge of the festival hay bale with a slow, deliberate movement. "Just keeping an eye on things," he said, his voice smooth yet menacing. "Sometimes people forget who they really are." Jake clenched his fists, ready to protect Lily if he needed to. He took a step forward, drawing Lily behind him. "You're making her uncomfortable," he stated, trying to sound calm despite the rising tide of anxiety in his chest. Lily tugged at his sleeve, her voice a mere whisper. "Jake, it's okay." "Let's just go." "It's not okay," Jake insisted, the barrier between them and this stranger becoming a necessary shield. "You don't get to stand there and watch us like we're some kind of entertainment." "People give off energy," the man replied, tilting his head ever so slightly. "You'd be surprised at what you can see when you stop dancing around the issue." Jake felt the heat of anger and fear mingle in his gut. Who did this man think he was? What do you mean by that? He demanded, heart racing. I mean, the man's gaze flicked over to Lily, and Jake felt his chest tighten. Some people shine bright like stars, while others fade into the background. How about you two? The words hung in the air, heavy and oppressive. Jake's mind reeled. Was he insinuating that they weren't deserving of the joy they were experiencing? Leave her alone. Jake shouted, feeling protectiveness surge through him. He wanted to sweep Lily away from this man, back into the warmth of the music and laughter. I'm just saying, the man continued casually, moving closer. It's easy to put on a show. But when the spotlight dims what's left. Lily looked up at Jake, eyes wide, searching for reassurance. He felt the weight of her gaze, mixed with confusion and fear, folding over his heart like a heavy blanket. He had always wanted to be the one to teach her about the world, yet this moment felt like a harsh lesson he wasn't prepared to navigate. Just then, the music swelled again, a lively tune that momentarily drowned out Jake's fear. The joy of the festival seeped back into his bones for a moment, and he drew strength from it. Don't you dare suggest what she is or isn't worth, Jake said defiantly, squaring his shoulders. We're not fading into the background. The man studied him, his expression unreadable. You think you can shield her forever? Life has a way of forcing you both into the spotlight. One way or another. As harrowing as the man's words were, a stirring of determination sprang up in Jake. She'll face whatever life throws at her. But she won't do it alone. Before he could think more, the man turned, starting to walk away. Just remember, not everyone who shines is worthy of the light. Jake's heart raced. He hadn't expected the confrontation to end like this. The man's warning felt like an echo, resonating with layers of uncertainty. He turned to Lily, who was still watching the retreating figure, brows furrowed in confusion. Are you okay? He asked softly, kneeling down to her level. I don't know, she whispered, still a little shaken. What did he mean? Jake wrapped his arms around her, pulling her close. Let's not worry about him. He doesn't define anything about you. Remember how you danced? She nodded, a small smile breaking through her uncertainty. Yeah. I was really happy. Exactly, Jake said, his heart steadier now. You're the one who gets to define your own story. Just as they began to step back into the crowd to rejoin the festivities, a shout erupted from the center of the dance circle. Jake turned, tension knotting in his stomach once again. What was happening now? The celebration was thrown into chaos, and he could feel Lily tightening her grip on his hand as the vibrations of the crowd shifted. Whatever this was, it felt big, and they were right at its edge. Stay close, Jake said, dread pooling in his gut. Something told him this moment was just the beginning of a much greater storm. Jake's instincts kicked in as he released Lily's hand just long enough to scan the crowd. The annual festival, usually bursting with joy and laughter, now pulsated with confusion. Music faded into jarring cries, and people were scrambling away from the center. It was hard to see what stirred everyone into such a frenzy. Look! Lily shouted, pointing at a group of 3 teenagers in the middle of the dance circle. They had surrounded a girl nearby, their faces twisted in expressions that screamed hostility. Jake's stomach sank as he recognized the girl Sarah, a senior in high school he had seen around town. She was bright and funny, always ready with a smile. But now, the laughter had disappeared from her face, replaced by fear that made his heart ache. Come on, he said, gripping Lily's shoulder, leading her closer as adrenaline coursed through his veins. We have to help. The circle of onlookers widened, some shouting words of confusion, while others recorded the scene on their phones. Jake felt a primal urge swell within him. He couldn't stand by while someone was being threatened. Hey! He yelled, stepping forward in a protective stance. What do you think you're doing? The teens turned, momentarily taken aback by his sudden entrance. They exchanged glances, seemingly weighing their options. But one of them, a tall boy with a baseball cap pulled low, sneered. "Mind your business, old man. This is none of your concern." Jake's heart raced. He was a father. A single dad. But he refused to let age define him, did not want to let courage waver in the face of intimidation. "It is my concern when someone is getting bullied," he replied steadily, clenching his fists. "Walk away. Now." Lily stood beside him, her presence grounding him as he shot a glance back at her. He could see the worry in her eyes, but there was also a flicker of admiration. Hope. Maybe this moment could be a lesson, a chance to show her that standing up for others mattered, but before he could settle himself, one of the girls in the group, the smallest of the three, scoffed. "What are you gonna do? Call for help? Please. Just move along." Suddenly, Sarah, who had been silent until now, raised her voice. "I'm not afraid of you. Get away from me." Her strength resonated in the silence that had enveloped the crowd. Jake felt a spark ignite in him. "See? She's not backing down," he shot back at them. "You should listen. It's pathetic to pick on someone who is just trying to enjoy the festival." The teen stepped forward, fists clenched. "Or what? You'll fight us? You think you can take all of us on?" That's when he felt it, the crowd, the looming faces, capturing the moment. It was a pressure, but also an electric charge. "You're right," Jake said, undeterred. "Maybe I can't take all of you, but I guarantee you'll be outnumbered by anyone else who stands up next." In that moment, something shifted. Uncertainty flickered among the boys. Jake took a breath, maintaining eye contact with them, silent but firm. Lily squeezed his hand tighter. "They'll leave us alone, right?" she asked, her voice barely above a whisper. "I hope so," Jake replied honestly, bracing himself for whatever might come next. Suddenly, another voice cut through the tension. A man, broad-shouldered and undoubtedly a local dad, pushed through the crowd. "What is going on here?" he demanded, the authority in his voice snapping everyone's attention. Jake and the teenagers froze, a moment of collective recognition hanging in the air. "Just having some fun," the same boy crooned, but it lacked bite. "Doesn't he look like fun to me?" the dad said, stepping closer, his presence commanding respect. "Back away from her or you'll find yourselves in a lot more trouble than you bargained for." The group hesitated, lost their bravado. Then, begrudgingly, they turned and slunk away, leaving Sarah trembling but free. Jake exhaled, relief flooding his system. He turned to Sarah, who looked grateful but shaken. "You all right?" he asked gently. "Yeah, thanks," she murmured, wiping a tear from her cheek. Then her eyes shifted to Lily. "And thank you too." Lily smiled encouragingly, her eyes bright. Before they could settle back into the festival's rhythm, however, Jake felt it, a sharp gaze meeting his. He turned to see the stranger from earlier positioned at a distance, watching with a knowing expression. A chill broke over him again, but this time, something deeper stirred beneath the surface. What did it all mean? Jake felt Lily's hand slip from his as he took a step toward the man, determination flooding his system. One fight didn't always end a war, he could sense there was so much more at stake. A ripple of unease settled in his chest. The festival had turned into something much larger than he'd expected, and the true battle was just beginning. Jake pushed through the scattered crowd, determination pushing him forward. That gaze, it was impossible to shake. The stranger's eyes bore an intensity that felt like an invitation to step deeper into a world he didn't understand. "Hey!" he called, breaking through layers of chatter and laughter that still echoed in the air. The festival lights twinkled around them, seemingly oblivious to the seriousness of the moment. The man, slightly older, wore a tailored jacket that contrasted sharply with the casual festival attire surrounding them. He turned, eyebrows raised, as if surprised Jake would approach. "Yeah," he replied, his casual tone masking the weight carried in the air. What did you see back there? Jake asked, a knot of anxiety forming deep in his gut. It was an odd question, but he had to know if the tension he felt was just his imagination or something more significant. The man leaned back against a nearby food stall, folding his arms. More than you know, he said simply. You took a risk back there. Not many would do that. His voice was steady, laced with an undertone of respect. I couldn't just stand by, Jake said, the heat rising in his cheeks. These kids, they needed to be stopped. Right choice. But you have no idea what you just stirred up. Jake frowned, processing the words. What do you mean? The man glanced around, ensuring they weren't overheard. Those kids aren't just bullies, they're part of something larger. I know them. Their whole crew is involved in activities that go beyond just harassing people at a festival. It's a toxic network. Jake's heart raced. The fight earlier felt like a singular moment, but now it was starting to blend into something more, a thread in a web, a spark in a larger fire. You expect me to just let this go? Jake challenged, the fire in his stomach rising again. I can't turn my back now. Good, the stranger said, a hint of a smile playing on his lips. But you'll need help. If you want to take a stand, you'll have to gather allies. You have a daughter, she'll be watching you. You know she needs to see you at your best. Jake thought of Lily's frightened eyes, how brave she had seemed standing beside him. It clicked then, he wasn't just defending a stranger, he was setting an example. His actions would ripple out into her life, the fight against bullying could become her fight too. Who are you? Jake finally asked, feeling vulnerable yet aware of the stakes. Name S. Carter, the man replied, extending his hand. I'm part of a community watch program. We're trying to keep an eye on groups like that. We could use more people willing to stand up for others, people like you and your daughter. Jake hesitated but then took Carter's hand. What do you need me to do? Let us start by getting your digits. We have meetings, ways to keep in touch. I can help you learn what to watch out for. The festival may be festive, but there's darkness lurking out there. Just then, Lily reappeared at his side, her face lighting up at the sight of him. Dad! Can we get cotton candy now? Jake smiled, a rush of warmth washing over him. There she was, the embodiment of innocence and hope. But when he glanced back at Carter, the weight of the conversation hit him hard. There were shadows and light even in moments of sweetness. Sure, sweetheart, he said, shifting to banter. But in the back of his mind, the electric awareness of their unanticipated role in this growing struggle loomed heavily. Jake felt the tug of responsibility deepen. Protecting Lily wasn't just about what happened in the moment, it was preparing her for future fights. As they moved towards the cotton candy stand, Jake couldn't help but cast one more look back at Carter. The stranger met his gaze, a nod of understanding shared between them. But just as they reached the stand, a loud commotion erupted a little farther down the festival pathway. A fresh wave of chaos surged through the crowd, and dread wrapped around Jake's heart. What now? He muttered under his breath, a sinking sensation settling in as he spotted a familiar baseball cap bobbing through the crowd. Dad? What is going on? Lily asked nervously. Jake squeezed her hand. I don't know. But I'm starting to think that festival just became our front line. What troubles lay ahead? Could they really protect those who needed it most? Jake's heart skipped a beat as he watched the chaos unfold. The crowd parted like waves, revealing three figures, a trio of the very bullies he had confronted earlier. They moved with a menacing swagger, taunting a woman in a business suit who had walked too close to the edge of the festival chaos. Dad, I don't like this. Lily tugged at his arm, her small fingers trembling. Stay close to me, Jake said, his voice steadier than he felt. The protective instinct surged within him. He couldn't just stand by again. Not now, not while Lily was watching. He approached, moving steadily toward the group. The clamor of the festival faded into a hum as adrenaline coursed through him. Up close, he could see the sneers on the bullies' faces, their intentions clear. This wasn't just playful teasing, they were trying to unnerve her, playing into a sick game of intimidation. "Hey!" Jake called, his voice rising above the noise. "Why don't you leave her alone?" The bullies turned, surprised at the interruption. The leader, a tall kid with dark hair and a predatory smile, sneered. "What's it to you, old man? This is none of your business." Jake felt the heat rise in his cheeks, but he pressed on. "It is my business. You're crossing the line, and it stops here." Each word felt like a weight lifted off his chest, but the raw courage inside him didn't come without fear. What if they turned on him next? He was ready to face whatever came, but he needed this to end without more violence, for Lily's sake. With a wary glance at the three, the woman in the suit finally spoke up, her voice calm but firm. "You don't know what you're doing. You think this makes you tough?" Her words surprised Jake, filling him with a sudden rush of respect. She wasn't cowering. Instead, she stood tall, defying the shadow that loomed over her. "Look at her!" One of the bullies shouted, pointing at Jake. "Is that your dad? Daddy's gonna save you." Lily clung to Jake, her eyes wide with alarm, but he bent down to meet her gaze. "I'm here, sweetheart." "You're not alone," he reassured her, his voice steady despite the tension. The leader of the bullies moved closer, eyes locked onto Jake as if trying to read his mind. "You think you can just walk in here and play the superhero?" "I'm not playing anything," Jake said, his heart racing. "I just want you to let her go. If you want to act tough, there are better ways to do it." The tension hung heavily in the air, thick as smoke. For a moment, it felt like everything around them paused, every glance frozen in time. Then, with sudden defiance, the woman stepped aside, addressing the bullies directly. "You think this is what power looks like? Harassing people to feel big? Real power is lifting others up. You'll see one day." Jake felt a spark of hope ignite inside him. Her words were a challenge, applying pressure where it mattered. Maybe together, they could stand firm against this toxicity. "Walk away," Jake said, his voice rising once again. "You don't have to be this way." For an agonizing beat, the air was electric with anticipation. Then, reluctantly, the leader backed down, glancing from Jake to the woman. With a grunt, he turned, his crew following behind, muttering as they retreated. The crowd began to murmur, some cheering softly, clearly impressed. Jake turned to the woman, relief flooding his veins. "Thank you," she said, her voice calm despite the earlier strain. "I didn't expect anyone to stand up for me. I'm Mary, by the way." "Jake," he replied, feeling a sense of camaraderie spark between them, a bond formed in the heat of friction. As he looked down at Lily, he saw pride blooming in her eyes, replacing the earlier fear. They had faced darkness together and emerged, albeit temporarily, victorious. "Can we still get cotton candy?" she asked, her innocent tone breaking the tension. "Of course," Jake said, squeezing her hand. As they walked away from the chaos, he felt a newfound sense of resolve. But just as they began to leave, a more menacing figure emerged from the shadows behind the food stall, a face Jake recognized all too well. "What a show you put on." "Jake," the figure sneered. "You really think this is over?" Jake's heart dropped. The battle was far from finished. What would happen next? Would they truly be safe, or had they just ignited a bigger flame? The sound of Jake's heartbeat thundered in his ears as the familiar figure stepped into view. It was Marcus, the big bully from high school, the kind who always thought he was invincible. Jake had seen him thrive on fear, and now, standing in front of him, that same predatory grin was plastered across his face. "Marcus," Jake said, keeping his tone level. He didn't want to show fear, especially not in front of Lily. She stood close by, her small frame visibly shaken but lingering, curious about the turn of events. So you plan to play the hero at a festival now? Marcus laughed, the sound grating like nails on a chalkboard. What would Lily think if she knew you were just a coward pretending to be brave? Jake felt a cold sweat bead at his brow. This wasn't just a confrontation, it was a test of everything he had worked so hard to build: his family, his dignity, his role as a father. He glanced quickly at Lily. She looked up at him with wide blue eyes, innocence and confusion swirling in their depths. Her voice broke through the charged air. "Dad, I'm not scared. You didn't let them hurt that lady. You're brave." A wave of warmth spread through him. "Thank you, sweet pea," he said, turning his focus back to Marcus. But the false bravado that had swept through him moments ago was replaced by a creeping doubt. "What do you want, Marcus?" Marcus stepped closer, tilting his head mockingly. "I was just watching you play the knight in shining armor, but I think it's about time someone reminded you of your place. You think this was just about some random lady? This goes deeper, and you're way over your head, Jake." Mary, standing beside them, spoke up, her voice assertive. "You don't intimidate anyone here, Marcus. Bullying only shows weakness." Jake felt an unexpected rush of support flow from her words. It was like a protective shield against the darkness Marcus embodied. "Watch yourself, Mary," Marcus shot back, but the fierceness in her stance gave Jake strength. He felt the weight of all the times he had backed down before. "Not this time. Leave us alone, Marcus." "There's no reason for this," Jake insisted, stepping forward as fear and courage collided within him. He could see the humiliation beginning to cloud Marcus's anger, the way his fists clenched tighter. But Marcus pushed back, an angry flush creeping up his neck. "You're really gonna regret this," he said, emphasizing each word. Just then, the sharpening crack of the festival noises became louder, blending with the growing tension between the three. Another round of murmurs rippled through the crowd around them. People were watching closely now, some taking out their phones, recording the standoff, while others whispered among themselves, clearly unsure how to react. Then Jake remembered the crowd, the festival, the community that surrounded them. "You don't have power here, Marcus. All this," he waved his hand toward the festival, "this community is stronger than you." The moment hung suspended, the collective heartbeat of everyone present pulsing tightly in the air. Marcus's bravado faltered, but his anger simmered beneath the surface like magma ready to erupt. "Fine. Just know, Jake, I won't forget this," he huffed, spinning on his heel and bolting away, his cronies trailing behind. Jake let out a breath he didn't realize he was holding. The tension dissipated like steam, and cheers erupted from the surrounding crowd, mingling with the sounds of laughter and music from the festival. "Dad, you scared him away!" Lily exclaimed, excitement lighting up her face. "I think we all did," Mary added, a smile breaking across her own face. As they turned to leave the scene behind, relief washed over Jake. He felt a sense of vindication, the weight of vulnerability lifting from his shoulders. But as they made their way toward the cotton candy stand, he felt eyes on him again. More than a few onlookers were whispering, pointing, gazes flashing with interest. "Dad, can we get the biggest one?" Lily asked, pulling on his arm. "Absolutely," he replied, pride growing within him. "What happens now?" came a voice from behind them. Jake turned to see Mary, her expression a blend of curiosity and concern. "Do you think he'll come back?" Jake's stomach flipped. He faced Marcus down today, but the shadows of the past lingered like wisps of smoke. "I don't know, but we're tougher now together. And we'll handle whatever comes next." But as they moved toward the cotton candy stand, an unsettling thought twisted in the back of Jake's mind. Would Marcus truly stand down? Or had he just ignited a conflict that would reach far beyond this day? The question hung in the air as they walked away, an uncertainty that could lead to even more challenges ahead. What would they face next, and how far were they willing to go to protect each other? Jake stood in the glow of the festival lights, heart still racing from the confrontation. The scent of cotton candy filled the air, mixing sweetly with the lingering tension that had thrummed through the crowd moments before. He glanced down at Lily, who was practically vibrating with excitement. "Let us get that cotton candy," he said, his voice betraying a mix of relief and lingering anxiety. Lily pulled him toward the vibrant stall, her laughter infectious. As he watched her, he felt a rush of gratitude wash over him. This was what it was all about, not just standing up for others but being a present dad for Lily. They were forging their bond in the fire of challenges, but still, Jake could sense the weight of a storm on the horizon. Once they had the massive pink cloud of cotton candy in hand, Lily's eyes sparkled. "Can we share it?" she asked, sitting on a bench amid the bustling festival. He nodded, breaking off a generous piece for her. As she took a bite, her face lit up in pure happiness, and in that moment, Jake's heart swelled. For all the chaos of the earlier confrontation, here they were, a father and daughter enjoying a fleeting moment of joy. Jake allowed the sugary sweetness to momentarily drown out his fears. As he chewed, his thoughts lingered on Marcus. What did he mean by not forgetting? The darkness had peeled back, and while he felt a sense of victory, there was still an unsettling fear whispering in the back of his mind. "Dad, are we gonna be okay?" Lily asked, her voice small. He paused, searching her gaze. "Yeah, kiddo. We're all right," he replied, though uncertainty clawed at him. "As long as we're together, we can handle anything." Lily gave him a tentative smile, and he felt a flicker of hope ignite anew. They finished up their cotton candy when the faint sound of music floated towards them, inviting them back into the heart of the festival. Jake stood, holding out his hand. "Ready for another round?" "Always," she cried, taking his hand firmly as they made their way back into the crowd. The vibrant atmosphere welcomed them back, couples twirled, kids laughed, and smiles reigned supreme. It was a reminder that life was fleeting but sweet. Jake's spirit lifted, and wonder replaced dread. He was here to inspire Lily, and in turn, she sparked light back into his world. But then, as they danced and lost themselves in the music, he realized they weren't alone. The community gathered around them, cheering them on. No one was judging. As the strong bass beat vibrated, he felt Lily's grip tighten in time with the music. She was dancing, genuinely immersed in the moment. Jake couldn't help but chuckle as his daughter took the lead, her moves becoming more vibrant, and for a wild second, he let go of all his inhibitions, mirroring her energy. "See? Everyone just wants to have fun." She beamed, her laughter ringing through the festival night. "Yes," he replied, feeling the rhythm in every corner of his being. All the weight lifted. For the first time that evening, Jake felt free. But as the night wore on, a familiar shadow emerged at the edge of the festival grounds. Marcus. He was standing beneath a flickering lamp, arms crossed, an expression of disdain plastered across his face, tightening Jake's chest all over again. "Jake!" Marcus called, voice dripping with mockery. Lily looked up alarmed. "Dad, is he coming over?" "No," Jake said firmly, tightening his grip on her hand. "We stay in our light." As they danced, Jake felt the energy shift around them. The fear that had frozen only moments before melted away. Instead of turning away or cowering, he raised his voice, calling out to Marcus. "You don't scare us." The crowd hushed. Eyes turned to Marcus, whose arrogance faltered. Jake realized at that moment they weren't alone in this fight. The community surged around them, emboldened by the recent exchanges, reminding Marcus of his insignificance. "Leave them alone, Marcus," a voice called out. It was Mary, stepping forward, standing tall beside them. "Who are you?" "You need to stick your nose elsewhere, lady," Marcus snarled. "No, you are the one who needs to leave," she replied, an unwavering strength revealed. The community stilled, tension crackling in the air. "A lesson has to be learned here," Jake said, stepping beside her, "that actions have consequences. Bullying isn't power. It's weakness." The crowd murmured in agreement, a tidal wave of support growing stronger. Marcus looked around, a flash of anger in his eyes. "You all think this is over?" "Yes," Jake shot back, "it's over when we say it is." With that, a round of applause erupted, waves of encouragement echoing through the crowd, unity igniting fighters. Finally, with a deflated huff, Marcus turned on his heel and stormed away, leaving behind nothing but echoes of his arrogance. Jake felt the palpable rush of victory as cheers erupted, the warmth of the community enveloping him and Lily. She turned and hugged him tightly, her face beaming with pride. "There's our family. The Dreamers." Someone shouted from the crowd, and Paul, a friend of Jake's, stepped forward. "You did it, man. That took guts." Jake felt pride bubbling up inside him, warmth bubbling in his chest. "We stood together," he said, looking down at Lily's sparkling eyes. "And that's what matters. Always." She chirped, and in that moment, he realized they had turned a corner not just in their journey but in the scars that had colored their past. As fireworks lit up the sky above them, a brilliant explosion of swirling colors. Jake recognized something profound. He wasn't just fighting for himself or Lily, but for everyone who deserved to dance freely without fear. They mixed into the crowd again, moving with vitality as the music played on, reveling in their victory. Together, they were stronger, shaping a world where kindness and courage fueled dreams, where they lifted each other up instead of tearing each other down, and, as they danced in the shadowy glow of the festival lights, Jake promised himself that this was just the beginning. The battles might continue, but together they would face whatever challenges lay ahead. In this renewed spirit of hope and determination, he couldn't help but think, life was meant to be celebrated, and together, they'd make their joy unstoppable. Now is your chance to join our journey. You need to subscribe now to never miss our exclusive stories that tell the truth about courage and community. Leave a like now to give a shout out to our heroes. Comment your reactions, let us know how this story changed your view. And remember, share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to witness this powerful transformation. Don't wait not even one more second. Show your support and stand with us.